Okay guys, so I want to touch on tagging properly and why it's crucial in this lecture. Now moving forward, tags aren't really as important as they used to be, in the past years, ever since the algorithm updated. Excuse me. That being said, they do still matter, and it's important to tag properly so that you can get the most bang for your buck that you're able to do. Now, first and foremost, it's important to remember that tags are to, basically help YouTube index your videos properly and basically better understand what the content in the video is actually about. So tagging properly, while not as important, is still crucial in this day and age, because if you can't, basically tell and communicate to YouTube's algorithm what your video is about, it's not going to rank it for anything, and that's important. So the way that you get the most bang for your buck is by tagging properly. And most people on YouTube don't tag properly. So therein begs the question, how do you go about tagging properly? So I'm going to go through a couple examples here with you in a second, one of my videos and one of some random other person's videos. But it's important to understand that less can potentially be more. So just because you can fit, potentially 100 tags in there maybe, doesn't necessarily mean that you should. You don't want to confuse the algorithm. And sometimes another thing to keep in mind is if you're just starting out, or you don't have a big channel, or your channel isn't growing the way that you would like to see it, and maybe you don't have as many subs or as many views on your videos, you want to sometimes shoot for longer tail keywords if you're newer, rather than just broad ones like this example right here. So I'm going to go through an example of a bad one and an example of a good one that you can potentially emulate yourself, and obviously we'll go through this so you can understand different things to avoid. So this is a random video that I pulled up that I saw this person doing that they didn't tag properly. Now this is of no fault to them. They probably just don't understand this. That being said too, it could have been one of their first videos. It was also about a year ago, a little over a year ago, so they could be tagging properly now. Who knows? I don't know who this channel is. I don't know who this person is. It has nothing to do with them whatsoever. I'm just using them as an example here to communicate what you should avoid doing and how you can learn from that. So you'll see here that this video is about how to source products from China to sell on Amazon. Now this is something that I do. It's called private labeling on Amazon. It's a way that I make money on Amazon as well. And I actually have some videos on my YouTube channel about this too. So I know what this is about. And these tags are a bad example. You'll see here, I can see all these tags and what they're ranking for. It gives me a lot of good data. And if you're interested in this, like I said before, I did promise you that I wouldn't drop it, and kind of suggest it again. But it's important to understand, if you're interested in this is TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is a great way that you can basically, figure out what other people are ranking for so you can target it. Because potentially a good example of this is, Amazon FBA is pretty broad, but this person's channel isn't that big. My channel is actually bigger than them. And so if they're ranking for Amazon FBA sourcing and they're ranking for Amazon FBA, I can pretty much assume that if I make a similar video with a similar title and similar, content, that I can rank for these tags as well and probably jump ahead of them, because my channel is a little bit bigger and I should get a better response. So that's important to understand. This is TubeBuddy. Like I said, TubeBuddy. I'll actually link TubeBuddy in this lecture as well if you want. It'll be attached up in the left-hand corner up here somewhere, probably when you first start the lecture. It'll also be attached in that document at the end, which is the bonus lecture that looks kind of like a white article with a bunch of links. So I have TubeBuddy up here. TubeBuddy's right here, you'll see. I use it. It's great. You should probably look into it as well if you're trying to grow your YouTube channel. It's my secret weapon to YouTube growth, honestly. But to touch on why this is a bad use of tagging, this is, about private labeling and sourcing products from overseas from Chinese manufacturers, this video specifically. And you'll see here that he has a bunch of different tags in here. They're broad. They don't have anything to do with what this video is about. And like we touched on before, you have to remember that tags aren't necessarily to just rank your video overall in different search results. Your goal with tags shouldn't be to, I want to rank for reseller, I want to rank for liquidation, I want to rank for, I don't even know what that is, or just entrepreneur, because those things have nothing to do with what this video is about. And that will confuse the algorithm. And it's important not to confuse the algorithm, because what these tags communicate, on top of the fact that they're so broad that you probably can't rank for most of them because the channel isn't big enough, and the bigger your channel, the obviously the broader you can rank for keywords, and there's more traffic on these keywords. But this person isn't ranking for any of these keywords, and ultimately these keywords are confusing the algorithm, because what this tells YouTube is that this video is about a bunch of different topics, and it has no idea where to rank it, and therefore it a lot of times can have a worse effect than you want it to have. So what this tells the algorithm is, oh, this video is about Snapchat spectacles. Has nothing to do with Snapchat spectacles. It's about truckload, pallets. These are bad examples of, this has nothing to do with online arbitrage. It does have to do with private label and wholesale, but those are a little bit broad. So that's stuff to keep in mind. You don't want to do too many broad keywords. It's important to make sure a couple of different things, and I'm going to touch on them in a second. But this is a good example of a video that I did that ranks for some stuff that is a little bit more longer tail, and I'm going to talk about my why these are good things here in a second. So you'll see that all of these are literally related to this video right here. I don't know why it was playing. Hold on, let me go back to it. Pause it, and we will touch on these in a second. So you'll see here that I rank for a bunch of different things. I rank for Shopify, which is extremely broad, and that's a method I'm going to talk about in a second when you're going into your strategy on how to rank tags. I try to rank for some broad ones, and I also try to rank for some longer tail ones because my channel is growing. And the reason I'm able to rank for Shopify is because my channel is growing. But they all are related to this video, which is Shopify dropshipping and Alex Becker and his ads and stuff. So that's important to keep in mind. This is a good example of how all of these tags are related, and they tell YouTube what the video is about. And this is a bad example of tags that are just broad and just thrown in here and really are just going to confuse the algorithm. So if you're going to put tags like this, just completely avoid them. It's literally better to put 3 or 4 tags that don't even fill your tag limit up, or your word limit up, or your character limit up in the tags, than put a bunch of these that are just going to confuse the algorithm. So one thing I like to use, obviously TubeBuddy will help you with your character limit, which is 500 characters when you're putting your YouTube video together, and that's something I also talk about in my other YouTube course as well. But on top of that, it's important to understand that you want to fill it up with the 500 characters like I do here, but they all have to be related. So that's important to keep in mind. So just to recap, less can be potentially more. Don't confuse the algorithm with broad keywords that aren't related to your topic or your video whatsoever. You want to go for more longer tail keywords if you're newer and you don't have a lot of subscribers or views or engagement on your channel yet, because you can rank for them. And you can't necessarily rank for broader ones if you're newer, because YouTube won't index your videos over other bigger channels necessarily most of the time. But a good strategy, and you'll see here that I do it here on this video and a lot of my videos, is you want to go for a small number of highly specific tags with some broader, long shots, I like to call them, overall. But just make sure that they all relate. So this is a long tail keyword because it's a lot more. A long tail keyword is basically a lot of words together. So a broad one, like I said, is Shopify. A broad one would be Shopify hack. Alex Becker scam is a little bit more longer tail, but it's somewhat still broad. This is 5 words, so it's a little bit more longer tail. I have a better chance to rank for the longer tail keywords potentially than the short, broader ones. So that's something to keep in mind. A strategy that you should kind of try to emulate is, like I said, a small number of highly targeted specific tags, and then potentially some broader long shots. So I took a long shot with Shopify, actually ranked for it, and I'm very happy about that, but I very well could have not ranked for that, and then, it wouldn't have mattered. So something to keep in mind, but tags, while they aren't as important as they used to be, are still crucial to do correctly, and that's something to keep in mind. So I'll see you in the next lecture, and we'll jump into another tip that can help you rank your videos here on YouTube and get you more visibility.